Can you hear us?
Hey, okay,
oh, that's much better. Okay, we've been talking and you guys haven't been able to hear us. Howdy, all. And we are about to get into the game.
We've actually kept people waiting a bit, unfortunately. Anyway, I guess a condensed summary of what got lost due to the microphone not being properly connected. So, Catastrophe versus Char, two Division 4 teams who still have a lot to show off that I don't think we've really had the chance to see yet in our broadcasts. Both coming off a pretty solid win in round 1, Char beating Sea Salted Squids 5-1 and Catastrophe defeating Prismatic 5-2. So, at this point they're both, hungry for more. They've gotten wins. They clearly want to see what they can do against teams that have, got the same record. They want to make sure that they can establish their dominance.
Should be fun.
You will notice that you've seen a lot of these maps before. In fact, all but one of them were featured directly in the high div map list for week 1. The key difference here is that we have a turf war map. So it will essentially be obeying the same rules that are obeyed back in Season 1 and Season 2. It will always be in the first 5, so it's guaranteed to be played. Otherwise, we're going to play around with exactly where it falls within the set. Other thing is that it is the same map as the one that got used in Game 9 in the high div matches. Obviously, it's just had a mode change. I do like the way that it makes sure that every mode gets even playtime.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. And we are heading into things.
Yeah. Alright, well, here we go. Let's check it out. Oh, okay. Well, we've got some interesting weapon picks here. Double Junior on Catastrophe and an Octo Brush. I do like the drop roller there for the inkjet. And then we've got a regular, not a deco heavy Splatling rounding it out. Although, of course, even though you're giving up on bubbles, which is great, Ray's pretty solid in the world. Meanwhile, we've got a pretty long-range comp with a couple of short-range stings in it there on Char's side. The Splat Roller obviously is there, as we can see Core using it excellently to just get straight into position, smack people good and drop them. Then otherwise, we've got series of Insta-Duelers and Close Quarters, and that Custom Explosion and Custom Jet Stroke. So we're going to have Dueling Stingrays on that. Very interesting so far. It's all really mixed up.
I'm loving this Double Junior pick.
Yeah, I really think you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. The Cancer Junior is just this wonderful, wonderful irritation weapon. You can hit like crazy, you can toss torpedoes to your heart's content, and then when bubbles come out, it's really great, both offensively and defensively. They seem to be working that well for Catastrophe, however. Combat-wise, Char seems to be getting better on it. So, similarly, you'll notice we're not going to pull the map up as much as we might have, because we've got a very handy-dandy mini-map on display there. A little bit of voodoo going into that, but hopefully it's going to be good for turf war matches. So everyone will always be able to get a good idea of who's doing what big picture-wise, which team's got the leads in terms of the score. Overall, of course, I feel it's mostly been thoroughly in Char's advantage. Catastrophe, unfortunately, having a bit of trouble syncing up. We've got an interesting game of cat and mouse here with the baller chasing after the Octo line, which of course is a bit slower there, and KK gets away clean. Well, spoke too soon, gets a pick. At this point, we do get a 2 down on the chart as well, though, so Catastrophe have a chance to break that in. Their big advantage, of course, is in terms of raw thinking, they absolutely demolish Char. So pair of juniors is probably able to tank almost as much as an entirety of the chart. Big problem, of course, is that if they can't engage with, then the amount of pain you can do is a bit immaterial. Core getting very aggressive there. At the moment, I do feel, while Char have the edge, it's not an unassailable lead. And all it's going to take is a few picks here and there.
Oh, KJ trading up?
I don't think a trade, no, they'll 4 up on Char. But we do see 2 go down very closely connected there, and Momo in the baller is going to be at a painting deficit, so Cheeto's just able to run away and paint elsewhere.
I think Catastrophe are going to take this
They've got
game.
a real chance to take this here. Oh boy, and the bubbles, they do get popped, all of them. What a mess. Both the wings looking there for Catastrophe, but the middle is pretty solid for Char. I think Catastrophe have the edge.
Yeah, pretty strong.
Okay, never mind, not just the edge, more than half. A solid win! Wow! So, should we demystify the mini-map for them?
Well, if you guys were paying attention during this time last year, we did the warm-up war games where we used these map overlays.
Of course, that had the advantage of being an entirely turf event, given it was practice for the AUNZ Cup. But I think we might as well let them in.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah.
So, what we have here is the magic of 2 consoles spectating. One of them being used conventionally for camera work. The second one going straight into the map from the word go. And essentially has been given a filter placed over it. So that only the components of it that match the map locations of the map that we're looking at get shown, and the rest is all just green screened out effectively, and then shifted and overlaid on top of the primary view. So this involves obviously just looking at a few screenshots, getting some negative space out of them, and unfortunately it does mean that we run into technical difficulties whenever the actual minimap itself changes and we can't get a clean image of it. So if gameplay goes to the reef, we're going to have to put the minimap on hold, unfortunately, because we've only got the old reef cut out at the moment.
Yes, I didn't quite have enough time to do the... We had the old 8 maps, I think, that we used in the warm-up war games, because we only did it 1 week of warm-up war games. And then I cut out a couple of new maps, but we came down to the wire. The teams did wait for us a little bit at the end, so I don't have the reef done because I was like, oh no, I haven't got a spectator view of the reef. Not close to hand. FLC's call-out guide, excellent source of overhead maps, but does not have new reef, so...
not the same as the old reef. Anyway.
I wasn't confident that the boundaries hadn't stayed the same, so like we might be able to pull up that old one and it might be okay.
Still.
We're waiting on a sub right now.
Yeah, we're waiting on a sub, so hopefully that's going to have some neat future applications. I'm looking forward to it, not just for Turf War, but also for Clan Blitz, because it's one where you can't really follow everything that's happening anyway. And of course, they'll have the advantage of being, since they're in spectator view, not player view, they'll have the God's Eye picture of exactly where all the clan spawns are.
Actually, so yeah, that's going to be pretty exciting. We can actually track
exactly where every clan is at any moment in time.
It'll be a bit tiny.
Oh, yeah, but still, it's cool.
And I think we've had... Sorry, so where's the sub happening? We've got...
Yeah.
I think...
looks like someone on Catastrophe is subbing out. I guess we'll see who's coming in. They've got a reasonably big lineup, all things considered.
True.
So there's plenty of possibilities. I guess it'll be interesting to see what they take here. Personally, I would love it if they. Oh well, okay. So I'm saying I would love it if they brought their Cancer Junior back, but I believe that Lily, who was running Cancer Junior, is the player who was subbed out. So
yeah.
Well, we'll see. Oh, no, Lily's back, so possibly some technical issues. Fortunately, if it was a disconnect, it didn't hit during the game. That would have been awful. Anyway.
Or possibly we missed it.
Or we missed it.
But it didn't deny Catastrophe their... they still did take game one.
Yeah.
So,
anyway,
whatever
I would
happened
love
there.
to see that Cancer Junior returning for Piranha Pit clams. I think... Obviously, bubbles haven't flown under the radar in any way, shape, or form, but that specific weapon I feel has on Piranha. We've seen it used to great effect in a few games on Skipper Pavilion Clan Blitz, but I think it's still got a lot to offer on Piranha, even though the sightlines are a bit more open. I guess, yeah. So, with identical team lineups, it's always the possibility they can stick with the weapons they've been running. The bubble play they did in that previous match was pretty good. Meanwhile, on Char's side, we've got a pretty solid set of weapons already, frankly, from their first game.
Yeah.
Obviously, for a Clan Blitz game, I'd consider running the standard Explosion rather than custom.
And maybe end parries instead of cancel?
I mean,
Baller is definitely...
I personally have very little time for Baller and clams, but there's no denying that you can do things.
It's very effective, it's quite effective, and seeing it from either the custom Explosion or the Cancer Dualies could be an option, but I think they don't need to run two. I would like to see something like an inkjet or a...
Yeah,
or the bubbles. So we'll see what happens.
I think it would be good to have something that you can just shove in people's faces. Bubbles are always good for that in clams because they're sword and shield all in one. I guess we'll see. All right, well, I'm getting my wish. We are seeing that Cancer Splattershot Junior in action. Meanwhile, it looks like Char have changed their lineup solely by running a Slosher Death Code in place of that custom Explosion. So still a baller, still a sprinkler in fact, but a considerably closer quarters weapon. Catastrophe making more adjustments. So the Junior's gone, and in place we've got a double Junior's. Well, that's okay.
We can see everything.
Yeah, that'll be alright. I mean, the useless bit's aptly named. Stingray now comes out. And a baller as well, so it looks like Chara is going. Oh boy, yes! And that's Stingray just enough to tap down that Splatling. Spins in on the back of the crush damage to the baller. It's a strong opening there for Char, but they haven't finished cleaning up. Shido gets a trade with Yuzu. Not what Shido wanted, clearly would have preferred to just get a clean win there, but it looks like Char aren't getting a push.
Can I take a moment right now to note all of the bomb defense DX that KK is running?
I haven't noticed. I'm assuming that's on the... Is that on the Tetris?
Yes, that's right, and I think this is the first time I've had to enter bomb defense in my stats.
Well, I guess there's a little bit of bomb defense, a little bit of cold blood there. We'll see whether it's just a power play or whether there's a rationale behind it. Alright, so we are getting reports that perhaps the sound is stacking from the mini. And the music's doubling up. So
what I might do is I might...
Oh, well, we've got the... Oh, wait, yeah, never mind that. No, we suspect it might be a different source of control.
Let's see.
Yeah, please let us know if you're getting any more volume doubling. We suspect it was just some carelessness with the microphones. Meanwhile, sorry, we completely missed a break there from Catastrophe. It looks like they've not quite been able to get enough control out of it, but that's still solid play. And then in fact, they managed to burn one of the power plants that Shark had ready as well. Well played there. Shark have rallied though. Mid's not really theirs yet, but at least they're not actively threatened. Lily's a little bit too aggressive with the bubble, perhaps. We've got players going down left, right, and centre. Users, all explodes, and this is this is hard to say. Yuzu does go for the Super Clan build. We've got Cookie there with another one, so we could potentially see an
might be a break.
We get the break, but we don't see a super jump yet. Core split off and Yuzu splattered, so that's probably going to be a single clan push, nothing else. Yeah, so confident defense there from Catastrophe. I feel that Shark had the chance for an overtake there. The super jump should have made it completely unassailable. Perhaps they didn't want to sacrifice play. That said, they did it also without using their penalty claim. So they're still safe when it comes to pushback. Lily does get it in, goes down in the process. Shido manages to get an extra clam in, but it's oh no, gets another one as well.
I think, however, Shadow's time is
and then KT jumps in, but the conveyor is so mean. Runs into the baller, and Momo's enough to finish it off with the smash. So hard to say whether that one was worth it or not. It does look like Shark have either lost their previous freebie clan, whether they're due to it being like not picked up early enough or it's being picked up too early and getting started. So not a free push basically. I think Catastrophe did gain something with that, but not free.
Yes. And chasing this power plant across the map all the way back to base.
Yeah, and
in fact, I think knocked off the map.
Knocked off the map. I think the clan and the player both. Barrier's open, but we don't have many clams in place. We see a super jump, and there we go, like lightning. Just a few small clams and another big clam, and wow, that's makes all the difference in the world. Being able to do it in a small, single bigger push. They did have a bit of penalty to work off in the first one, but much smaller than Catastrophe's initial. That said, Catastrophe is still within easy striking distance if they're able to get some momentum.
Yes.
And Shido seems to realise that, but perhaps is a little bit impatient.
Yes, no team to assist and leaving a power clam up there. While they do have another one, it is a bit unfortunate to see that power clam go down.
And now Catastrophe has to navigate the entire map. If they're
and Yuzu coming through.
Yeah.
Here comes the power clam.
Oh no, the chase! And Yuzu's just threatening that objective, and I think at this point enough time's been burned off that Catastrophe just don't have an option.
And here comes the second power clam.
And Momo just seals the deal with surely seconds only remaining in the game anyway.
Yeah, so wow. So close. Do I have the colors back?
Perhaps. It looks like you had them correct. Oh no, never mind. They haven't switched over yet. Yeah, flip them around. You must have forgotten who was Alpha.
Team is Alpha? Who's Alpha?
We'll find out, I suppose. Yeah, well, so it goes.
We're managing here. we might be getting there.
Yeah, we know what we're doing.
No one knows what's going on.
Does anyone really?
It's a nice chill late night stream.
Yeah. Oh well. Nonetheless, that was an interesting game. Honestly, I feel Catastrophe were actually the better organised team for the most part in that game. And they just, I think, perhaps lost their nerve a little bit when Chad got that surprise lead grab so late in the game. there were a couple of times where they went forward on a bit too much of a speculative push and it didn't really give them anything. And then, of course, the bigger problem was that at the very, very end, when they were at about 15 seconds remaining, they split up and panicked a bit, which meant that Char smelled blood. I think they would have been a little less assured of their advance if they'd not seen such a sort of a chaotic response from Catastrophe before the overtime hit.
So I think we're seeing Shadow has subbed out for Shades?
Yes, it looks like. Meanwhile, yeah, we've got the same lineup coming in from Char this time around. Oh, when you're ready. We're getting a volume drag.
Signal ready. Yep.
Cool. No
Alrighty, hang on, and in we go. We've still got some players still making up their minds as well.
Yeah.
This way I can have the luxury of not signaling ready and hopefully not having that annoying ting as we go. That's nice as well.
Well, that's true. So anyway, interesting seeing that approach there. A very scrappy clans game. And one that, I think sometimes is just what happens when the teams are pretty evenly matched. Neither one, certainly, until the very end, I don't feel either team had that dominant control. Anyway, it's Rainmaker time. Let's get that dunk.
Indeed.
Ooh, okay, and a Hydra Splatling comes out. Very shiny. I like it. Meanwhile, yeah, so an interesting loadout once again. Double armor with an inkjet and a ray on Catastrophe. I think that's really cool. You can do a lot with armor. Like, just because it's old doesn't mean it's not still a terrifyingly effective color. Hey, gets the snatch, but clearly is under fire from that sloshing machine. They do burn. Momo does burn a splashdown for nothing essentially, and in fact, Shades punishes after the super jump. Wow. Sprinting gets the bomb. I think Catastrophe, they've got Shades running from Vanguard, and I think they're probably just going to go for a push. Yuzu's able to flex across, but at least the Rainmaker isn't quite at the front. Having said that, Lily takes the far right. Momo is there to intercept with Stingray as well. And then moves along. Payday gets through it, so I guess we'll see. We do have a fresh respawn wave coming though, so I don't think we're going to get any more movement on the Rainmaker from Catastrophe, but then they get 2 down! On the back of nothing.
Wow.
Payday's doing a lot of damage here. Unfortunately cornered by Momo, who does manage to stop it, but he goes down as well. This is looking quite dangerous here for Char. And Spin especially just... Oh no, there we go. Ambushed. The one weakness of the customizer is to drop down on its head. It can't be informed. So now Char waste no time at all in dunking that Rainmaker for a reset right away. Not really a thing I can argue about. That's like, you got to play it safe. But that lightning push there from Catastrophe with a bunch of great individual plays into it probably has them right.
They did, however, I think, have a good position there after reset. But now Spin's being left as the last player up.
Definitely with the one thing that outranges a Hydra Splatling.
And what we've seen from the teams playing Albacore this week is that we're...
Oh! 3 down just like that. Shades takes no prisoners.
What I was going to say was that we're seeing a few right side pushes coming out.
Yeah, I'm perplexed, honestly.
Hey, it's
We've
been
seen
working.
it work once or twice.
Obviously we were learning something.
39 I feel is chicken feed.
Well, we'll see. It might be not.
Lily's attempt at the left push gets shut down hard by a bunch of splash damage. And we're down to only one player left, and not one in any position to threaten charge. But still, Catastrophe probably not feeling unhappy about that. For all that I'm throwing shade on the push that they've made, it's a much better than Char have managed so far.
That's right.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. And Char seems pretty happy to take it right as well, so maybe they know something we don't. Momo just going up there, but Spin's there with a Hydra Splatling. There's nothing, not anything you can do about that when you're just moving into a spot of Hydra. Shades goes for a defensive dunk. Goodbye, Rainmaker.
Yep.
just as that baller comes in and, well, no sooner. I think that was 3 down briefly there on Catastrophe. Yuzu absolutely merciless. But it wasn't really innovative. And then Momo again takes it right. Shooting it over the grates. Because the other problem with the Rainmaker is if you don't have your team already there to support you, you're very, very vulnerable while on the grate itself because you can't shoot it anything. Momo there trapped by Lily, and that's a clean wipe there on Char.
Yeah, I think, although you did mention that if you don't have a team there, you have problems, the Cole was there making a path, it just wasn't it didn't quite work out in that case.
Well, I guess we'll see. There's still a minute on the clock. Cookie there tags the Rainmaker, and with 1 down already, that's potentially an opening there for Char. But the Catastrophe seem to be holding their own. With Yuzu gone as well, it's going to make it difficult for them to break in. They've lost their principal slayer as well. And I think Catastrophe realised this, that there's, they can't afford to give Char any more fragile. The front push and the left push can both beat it at relatively low risk positions. So if Catastrophe want to win here, they really need to make sure that charges don't get any momentum at all. The Ray does a wonderful job of hurting Momo there so that Shades can just get an easy pickup. Cookie does duck and weave, but with a Stingray in the same time. Oh wow, at least that is the burst bomb trade. I think very briefly only 3 players left. Paul not really in position, and Momo coming in from spawn.
We do have
the
ink armor ready. We're going to see...
And once again, just lurking there for the right push. I really think this is risky.
I think...
Catastrophe have committed low on the left though, so we'll see if there's anyone able to intercept. That long range firepower
Shades.
Yeah, Shades does get intercepted, but then
and
there's 3 players after
fire.
Momo. Catastrophe just spent too many resources being able to get the Rainmaker to that point on the far right, and then they had nothing left to spend when they actually had to try and score with it. Well, that's really gonna hurt after so long, and like so much time really just getting stuck and stalled in mid. To have your only real push go down so quickly must be pretty stinging.
Yeah, so we do see Catastrophe take game 3, so we're at 2-1.
Yeah, a very interesting game there. Both teams quite capable on defense, and it seems that they both had very particular ideas about how to attack.
I don't think the push is wrong. Certainly I've been enlightened this week into that push. And I think it's one where actually teamwork can reward you more than the left push. And it was really good to see the teams actually trying to cover their Rainmaker as they went across. So really interesting to see those plays on right side. It's really quite cool to see this developing. This sort of gameplay to push for that direction.
Yes. The one thing I would say though is that both teams kept up with it even when it wasn't working. To some extent, I think that's just a bit inflexible.
Sometimes maybe you do eventually have to concede that you need to change things up, but...
Well, I think the biggest problem, especially for Char, was that the right side push is tremendously favourable for a defending team with a range advantage. And Catastrophe had that in spades. Obviously I think the Jet might outrange the Jet might outrange the Heavy by a tiny margin, but nothing beats a Hydra that's spun up. And when you've got both of those Splatlings there, if they can set up flanking fire, nothing is ever going to pass through a narrow corridor when the sightlines are open. Still, that one's done and dusted. The teams made their choices, and it's possibly the last we'll see of Rainmaker.
Possibly, yeah. So we're going to head same teams, I think, same lineups. So in we go to Splat Zones on
Catastrophe.
Yep.
So we've already seen some pretty excellent bubble play in both of these teams. I'm lying, sorry. No, we haven't seen any bubbles at all from Char yet, but I'm hoping to see some, and plenty of great bubbles coming out from Catastrophe. It looks like Char are going for bubbles from the Kensa Roller. Yuzu getting very aggressive with the Dapple Nuvo. Meanwhile, it looks like Catastrophe is sticking with the custom Hydra and then going for a Booyah Bomb on KK's Dynamo Roll. So a lot of flinging back and forth with these bullets. Shade gets very aggressive and gets rewarded with a pick and a trade. and that's a cat for Catastrophe. Char not really in position to contest with anything except the explosion, which has been forced to go forward defensively. Momo explodes on the point, sets it neutral, but then the bubbles come out from Lily, and that's an easy dream. Numbers advantage to Catastrophe and still ticking down. They're looking very confident.
Yeah, and the recap already.
Yeah, interesting here. Catastrophe quite unafraid of any of the long-range blasts.
Alright, here comes specials for that instant cap on that zone.
Yeah.
Love seeing that bubbles
Just
come
like
out.
that.
And in return, Catastrophe is putting in their own.
We'll see you and raise you. But unfortunately, they weren't quite able to get the
There is someone here with Momo.
Once again, Shades just going ham with the Pentatech. Getting another one with the East Jet. Not able to deal with Cobb, but that's still putting that penalty on, getting rid of 3 people. Is what you want. Given that, you know, at the end of the day, this flat zone, you don't want to sit on 56 point and hope the enemy doesn't take the point back to his zone. Indeed, Char just turning it on so quickly again. Still, it's cost them. They're now down to only 2 players. Both of them, you know, intend to essentially just hang in the rear and get their head bitten off and choose not to. You just have to be very confident once again with the forcing Char backwards. We've got that ink jet going up, and the Booyah Bomb as well traps Yuzu.
And here's the penalty, all done.
Gone. The rest of Char very sensibly not running in one at a time, but they seem to be having difficulty rallying. They do pick off KT, they chase Shades back, but it might cost them someone. No, they get a clean splash. Out come the bubbles. Surely this is going to be a quick. They didn't even need them. And then Catastrophe just go, we've got bubbles and we can catch up.
Oh, and Cole stuck behind a dynamo there.
And then shot by the Hydra as well. Catastrophe absolutely on fire right now.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And what we're having trouble here for Char is actually just holding the zone for a significant time. Like, there's a penalty.
But Catastrophe is able to put down so much point. And of course, the thing with the Hydra and the Junior and the Dynamo, when they're in painful mode, nothing can really contest them.
Okay, we might have another desperate cap here, but out come the bubbles.
Preemptive bubbles, and the penalty's gone again, and we're down to 1 player on Char. If this isn't a knockout at this point, it would be a miracle. Yuzu does realise that some patience is needed, even with that ticking clock, and does a pretty good job of drawing attention towards himself despite that, but just not quite enough. And the neutral after the knockout, so close.
Very close.
All it would have taken was just 1 player in the wrong place on Catastrophe's side, getting splattered in that last 5 seconds, and Char would have had a foot in the door. But Catastrophe executed properly, they held their nerve, and they got their knockout. Well played.
Alrighty, so Catastrophe now up 3-1. We're going to go to our first tower control map.
Well, given the Stingray play we've seen so far, they'd be mad not to reprise it here. It's a pretty Stingray-friendly map, quite apart from the mode, and yeah, Tower obviously invites it even more so. Custom Jet, we've seen quite a lot of already. I think possibly from each team. I'm not certain about it. Oh no, maybe not. But anyway,
well,
it's a good pick here. Oh, of course, we can just swap over.
We've seen Custom Jet come out from mostly from Cookie, but I don't see a Custom Jet. There's a heavy splatling.
From KT?
No, from Spintington.
Yes.
No, I think KT did have it as well. Yeah, so there was this swap over in roles. We did see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Oh dear. All right. Well, Catastrophe. Possibly some more net issues. I'm not sure. Either way,
we are proceeding.
Players jumping back in, and we're looking fine. Yes. Looks like Shido jumping in to substitute for Lily. So, yeah, no, this should be interesting. Sturgeon Shipyard's got a lot of little nooks and crannies, and elevation is paramount in the middle. Wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of Splatling play come out here. Like, it's really good for almost every flavour. Obviously the Hydra loves it. You've got a big nice perch, and you can just sit there and be untouchable. But the heavy Splatling's an excellent choice as well. It gives you that Stingray option that you might otherwise lack if the rest of your team comp isn't friendly for it. It's still able to terrorize the center from a friendly snipe and can quite happily go forward onto hostile snipe and hurt the courtyard if it wants to. The ballpoint is, honestly, I'm having trouble thinking of a situation where the ballpoint isn't great at all in the game. So yeah,
in the video game that is Splatoon.
Yeah, at some point it might eventually not be one of the best weapons possible. Always. Okay.
It's a good gun.
It's a good gun. Here we go. So we're seeing we're seeing the heavy Splatling from Splinter 10 as the only Stingray user on the team there.
And we do see the custom jet.
Yeah, and double Brella there from Char. I like it. So standard Splat Brella and the Ketsa undercover Brella, both just miserably difficult to hurt. You know, the only real way you can deal with them is by outsmarting them, and that's not always easy. The sultry little skirmishes around the tower here, that early baller sends Yuzu flying, but doesn't get the splat. Armor goes up now on Char's side. They are a player down though. And Catastrophe seems quite happy to start riding the tower. Yuzu gets a bit wrong-footed, does take out that Splatling though, but Kate does get the splat. Looks like the tower's been abandoned for now though. The Stingray might have been intended to sweep people aside. At any rate, the objective's not really moving anymore, so I suppose that's not bad news for Char. But it looks like they're just getting bombs chucked at them. Now there we go. Yes, that Tri-Slosher, possibly from up on Char's side, has been causing tremendous amounts of grief. Yuzu's able to reset the tower. Oh no, and then that is a clean one on the Catastrophe. It's not good news.
I did like seeing that little baller sit on that tower there.
The little baller. Yeah, the other interesting thing is we're not seeing any blasters at all. I think Momo possibly got a shield buff splat there on Shades.
Possibly.
Hard to tell when the first shot fires
possibly
up.
the Grella here taking the rolls at a bit that a blaster might, just being able to get a little bit of and has that benefit as well of having that shield.
Yeah, Momo doing sterling work here, using that relic exactly the way that it was predicted. Does go down in the end in a trade, and that was a briefly do on this side.
Char getting a great push off this. They
Cookie,
go down.
unfortunately, a bit held up. They do get Momo jumping back in, but I think that's the tower loss with Yuzu down as well. So Char just at this point needs to rally to make sure that he doesn't manage the counter.
Yeah, I think important there to recognise when that push is done, but managing the pressure can pay off from that.
Spectacular work here. Yeah, we've seen a few form now, haven't we? And now Momo and Yuzu both getting super forward, leaving Koda the tower alone.
Does have armor ready, but he's choosing to hold it
I think the problem is that at the moment they really need the protection of the shield, and there we go, like, splattered while the armor was in wind-up. So, yeah, we do see the custom jet squelcher jump back home, and half of its special remaining. So at least not a wipe, but still, that's the great of a Catastrophe. They were really just constantly being pushed onto the ropes there. And the other thing, of course, with that Ketsa undercover medicine is really going everywhere.
Yes.
Lily had been using them very effectively in some previous games. It's so expensive for people to deal with if they don't have the right weapon for them. And when you're on the tower, it's also pretty easy for the other team to Cole unfortunately goes down that hail of fire there, too many explosions. And it looks like we're going to get a checkpoint break.
Yep, here we go. So, possibility here for the to get the checkpoint. Not sure about the overtake,
I think the overtake is very good here.
They are a couple of down,
got
but they
bombs
do
doing tremendous
KT
work.
takes out
The one thing is that custom jet squelcher is still
oh, they need to get feet on.
They've done it.
Yep.
Quite happily, in fact. And not even too expensive. They only lost one player in the process. It's every the ND Shivers trying for more. Doesn't get it though.
Momo taken out by a bomb there.
Yuzu finally gets a bit of clear air, and then runs into Speed Tintin and forces a retreat. Shade's still lurking up on Char's snipe, and Shido jumping there as well. This is really nasty. The back-to-back Brellas though put an end to that. Oh boy. Yeah, I really like the way Catastrophe's using the verticality.
Ooh, Payday there, yeah, as you said, using that slosher to great effectiveness, sloshing up at the tower.
And Char now, perhaps feeling the starting to push without really having leverage to do so. But they're not at least overextending the process. And they have got a pick now, so we'll see. Shido's baller though is going to do a lot of damage. Can it can't. No. Overconfident. Perhaps was just desperately hoping for that relish with the way. It didn't happen. Still, can't have their hands full here. They've got to deal with. Catastrophe do have a special ready. They've got a ray. Are they in position? No, Spin Tintin is in a dangerous place. They're getting chased down.
Shido's there for the
flank, and Shido gets it.
Yeah.
Wow, that could have gone downhill very quickly for Catastrophe if there'd just been a slight change in player positions in the courtyard. Not a comfortable lead to try and defend. It's always tricky to be in that position, so props to them for keeping it absolutely ice cold throughout. Well, after, honestly, I'd say a pretty shaky start in the early matches, Catastrophe are now looking at a match point with only one game conceded. Clams is the one mode they haven't won on, but Skip is a very different beast from. And I will
say that the matches have been close. Like the previous Clams match was 62-60, I think. Yep, it's right
and
there.
And a relatively late overtake.
So it's going to be interesting to see this play out on Skipper Pavilion, which is quite a differently structured Clams map.
I feel it's much more favourable to the kind of loadouts that we've seen from Catastrophe. They're much more bubble friendly than Char are. The one criticism I'd make here, and we've got the advantage of being able to see the lobby, is is choosing to bench Lily, because I feel that the Cancer Junior is it's a weapon that's made for this map. The torpedoes are devastatingly effective. There are so many ways to just pester people from extreme distance. The avenues for approach for a short-range weapon are much kinder than on many other maps. And its bubble capacity, obviously, is just terrific. There's so much you can do with it. Still, I'm sure that the remaining players are going to do their best anyway, and they'll have their own plan going in. Perhaps we'll see bubbles of some sort. I'm positive for this one. Chart, meanwhile, I'm not sure. Their loadouts have all been fine, really. It just seems like they haven't quite been able to get it into gear in some of these maps. Perhaps they just need to, get their mojo back a bit. I really like the way that they were willing to try something different with the double Brella comp on Sturgeon, and I feel comp-wise they actually had a stronger team than Catastrophe, but they just weren't able to make it play to their advantage at the moments that mattered. Here we go, I suppose. So Chart obviously with their backs to the wall. We've got Inkbrush coming out for the first time in the set. And, well, a distinct lack of bubbles. In fact, not a single bubble blower to be seen anywhere on the map. Well, you live and learn. Payday running the L3 nozzle nose.
It is the short one.
Yes. Not many other unconventional picks, but a few new ones. I don't think we've seen Momo running the custom dually squelches so far this match. Shido there running that very, very the obnoxious Clams Inkbrush approach. Very, very hard to pin down. Clam Harvest, we do see going a fair bit more to Char's advantage, I think. I thought I saw it. Maybe a Clam just around. We see a baller come in, and unfortunately, that's basically just Shido running in and throwing a Clam away. Unless Shades is able to build on that. They do. Oh, wow! Getting the splat that they really shouldn't have expected to get.
And
boom,
now
the
3 players down, but where are the Clams?
Spin coming in with 2 Clams. Shades activating Inkjet, but there's no other harvest. Catastrophe have none. Not a single Clam to their name. Now only a questionable super jump option. That's the problem with starting so early. You don't have a pity Clam to rely on. You haven't necessarily gotten mid control, so you haven't harvested. Yes. Well, why don't you enlighten us? Where should they be looking?
Well, they should be looking down in the low area, but...
Well, it looks like they are right now, in fact.
But we've got a good harvest going on.
Yeah. So now they're obviously in a much healthier amount, and Char very much on the back foot. Down 2 players, no clams to their name. Really, if Catastrophe want to push, they can probably do it as soon as they feel comfortable. They've got a baller going in. It looks like it's been broken in fact. We do get a barrier break, but I don't think there's going to be anything wrong. We've seen a fumbled clam there, and Shades gets way too excited, hoping for a repeat of the previous performance. That was never going to work, sorry. So Char at least has some breathing room now. They have harvested pretty well. Their problem though is that so far this match they really haven't that armor comes at the worst possible time to call. KK does give them the gift of going for a swim. But that's still Shido's got another break.
I think we scored there.
It's a sacrifice play. Shane's nearby gets a single small clam in. And the top might be under control. Yes,
Spin.
Another big clam from Spin, and KJ there gets a splat and goes down. That's the end of it. But that's much better. That's what we're talking about. I think this is a higher score than either team managed in the previous clams game.
We are about to see the counter break, I think.
Yes, super jump comes through. You get
oh no! And
open,
someone fell
but now we're down to only 2 players left. Cobb can't deal with Spin, and that's 2 power clam. Well, 1 power clam sacrificed. 1 more on the run. The one thing that worked out in Char's favour from that whole exchange was that at least their freebie clam is still happily sitting under the basket, untouched. So they're going to have access to it.
I think they just picked it up, in fact. I think
no,
it's
still sitting there.
Okay,
very happy. Very comfy. So,
it's a little bit, and we just got a score.
Another break! Yeah, Catastrophe know they need to be on the front foot. Yeah, that baller comes in on the back of the break rather than at the start of one, and Music is trapped against the wall. Shido can't do anything after that. Shades also goes down, but given how well they've been rewarded for this hyper-aggressive play today, I can't really fault them for just continuing. Momo being stuck with Turn Bomb mind games. You do at least have a good clam count up again on Sharp. They had their pink clam in there.
I don't see it on the basket, but I was wrong last time we saw about seeing it on the basket. So.
And now they've got Yuzu ready, but then just picked off 1, 2, 3. Cookie left as the only defending player. That ballpoint is vicious. It's not going anywhere. But in the meantime, that numbers disadvantage means that Shades, or Shido rather, can just sneak up with that heat rush, moving at the speed of light, and open the basket. The one thing is that, yeah, this is another breeding clam for a small improvement in score, I think.
Yes, I think it was about 30.
Nothing serious though. The real, really Char's best, probably only chance here, is to just see if they can find single devastating effects. They don't really have time for several pushes. They've got to just do it all in one. And right now, they have to be not giving them the breathing room they need for that. They're having to constantly worry about protecting their own basket. They've got building boxes everywhere. We do have a bit of a break. Yeah, I think more hopeful than planned. Yeah. The big problem is they haven't been able to use, they've not been able to get enough breathing room to use specials to initiate. And without that, Shido here with a baller just to troll them and potentially get an early game in. Gets it open, and that's the end!
That is
just as overtime starts, although obviously several seconds earlier would have been fine too. Catastrophe taking charge with style. After a pretty rocky start to the match, they just kept on turning up the volume.
Yeah, so ultimately taking that set 5-1. I do want to note, there was, I think, just one encounter that we saw that time that Char did open the basket. We saw one of them come across with that, I want to say a baller or something came from down low. And what I think the mistake was actually super jumping to that baller, because they could have kept Catastrophe a little bit off kilter by having the threat of the baller come, because the ball came from basically outside of Char's spawn.
Yeah.
I think they could have kept Catastrophe a little off kilter by that one ball coming from Catastrophe's from
low
Char's spawn, and the other one coming from down low, and then with each of them coming in from one direction.
I feel a two-pronged attack is almost always the best option on Skipper for clams. It's so easy to access the basket from both directions, and if a team wants to defend, then unless you mistime your attack, they've got to split their forces in order to do so.
And that was really the only big attack opportunity that we did see come out for Char, and unfortunately it just didn't reward them in the way that they'd hoped. So I don't know if they'd managed to coordinate that, if it would have been enough for a lead, so maybe it was just one opportunity that not quite enough.
Yeah. Well, of course, the other problem was that they were not operating in a vacuum. They were under relentless pressure from Catastrophe.
True.
Turning the orthodoxy on its head and really making that constant small push approach work for them.
Yeah.
Like, there was only one push in that whole lot that was a big one in terms of just its numerical score delivered. Everything else was chump change. But because they were able to so consistently stay on the front foot and keep on threatening Char's territory, even when Char had been gifted a bunch of free power clams, they couldn't do anything with them.
Yeah, that's right. Alright, so I think we're wrapped up here, and that is it for our matches for tonight. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we do have one last match deferred, I think, from week 2 to...
Yes, I think that will be a treat. We've got... I'm gonna get there.
I think it's Splatbacks versus Harold Holt.
Oh, really? Oh boy!
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yep. Definitely. Wow, that's gonna be a clash for the ages.
So that might be tomorrow, and of course we've got a bunch of recorded matches that I guess we'll have to get around to.
Yeah, we'll have to roll up our sleeves and see what we can do with that. Yeah, you're right. Splatbacks versus Harold Holt. So. That is, tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. AEDT. So put that in your calendars. It's going to be spectacular, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll catch you round. And, good luck with your week 3 matches.
Good night, everybody.